Okay, so this video is a continuation from that Ao Fong hands in the pockets twisting conversation. So that drill, either hands in the pocket or behind the back or by your sides, any drill that takes the hand out of the equation for twisting is a great way to tweak and maintain athletes who have already learned how to twist. So this video is going to be about how you can develop those athletes from the jump down the right path. So we're going to try to get that forward, backward, shoulder relationship from the very beginning so we don't have to tweak it at a later point in their career. This video, I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, just so that it's easy to understand. So there are going to be a couple things that I'm going to skip by and not explain. I promise you I will hit the main key points, but if there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask in the comments below. Every single step of this has a reason. I just don't have the time to fully go into it without making this like a 20-minute long video. So, first point here, prereqs, need front tuck, front pike, back tuck, back pike. I'm leaving off the layout just purely because your layout technique and position affects how you twist. So, especially for young athletes, if they haven't developed a solid layout yet, the chances of them developing a solid twist in that layout are pretty slim. So we're just going to start with the tuck and pike, and we're going to progress this front twisting first, and I'll show you why at a later point. Okay, so first one that we're doing here is the front tuck. Key point here, everything we're going to be doing is to a stuck position. This gives us a consistent end result so that our athletes have accurate feedback. Same way if you were having a basketball athlete practice their jump shot, they're going to practice that wrist flick, the arc, follow through, all of those things. But the result that they're getting and the feedback that they're getting comes from the hoop. If they shoot too far to the left, they know because the ball goes too far to the left. So this is giving us, a stick position is giving us a nice consistent feedback for our athlete so they can learn a little bit more efficiently and correctly, really. So front tuck stick. The next one here is going to be a front tuck kick out stick. What I mean by that is we're going to grab the knees, open, nice big open, to a stuck position. And you can do a tuck kick out in a number of ways. This one felt a little bit unnatural for me, but for the purpose of this twisting progression, when they do the kick out, have them keep their hands on their legs, just like they're pulling up a pair of pants. And the reasoning for that, I'll tell you in just a second. But that front tuck kick out, hands are going to stay on the legs. The next step here, we're going to do the same thing, front tuck kick out. But after they land, still trying to stick, we're going to have them do a jump half turn. Here's where the hands on the sides comes key. If we allowed them to take their hands off their side, then there's a possibility that they pull one shoulder more than the other. So the main idea behind this twisting is that we want both shoulders to work together. One goes forward, one goes backward, together in a relationship. If you let them pull their hands off their sides, odds are they're going to pull one arm forward and to do majority of the work. And that's already off on the wrong track. So you can see here when I jump half turn, because my hands are glued to my sides, my shoulders are working about equally to make this turn happen. You're going to run that a bunch of times. The more they do it, the less they need to sit in that stick position. Eventually they can go tuck open, bounce half turn, and you'll still see all the things that you want to see. And once they get that down, you just make it a little bit earlier, and they're doing it in the air. So the next step is front tuck open. Then we're going to do the same thing, hands on the side, and there's that same turn. Again, with hands on the side, you can see that both shoulders are working at about the same amount, which is what we're trying to build here. If you were to let them pull their hands off, not all, the talented ones will still do it correctly, but in general, if you let them pull one hand off their side, you're going to get something like this, where this arm has pulled about 70-80% and the other shoulder is still stuck. So this is that broken relationship where one shoulder is doing most of the work, the other is having a delayed reaction. So you end up with an off-axis kind of twist. And you can see that. I'll play it back normal speed in this tuck. The landing gets kind of wonky. Okay? Once they've gotten this down, we're going to do the same process through with pike. So they'll run front pike stick, I guess I can play this normal speed. Pike stick. Pike open stick. And then again, the same thing. Pike open stick. Jump half turn with those hands on the sides. And then put it together. And again, as long as those hands are on the side for this stage, you're gonna get that nice, even, both shoulders turning just like we did when we spun that coin, okay? I tried to do a bad version of Pike, but I literally could not force my body to pull that arm in. I guess if I had a pit, I could probably run it, but my body was fighting it, so we're not gonna see the bad version of the Pike. Here's what this looks like from a front view. So you get the kick out. You can see as this shoulder pulls forward, this shoulder is also dropping back at the same time. Pretty even. That's our nice efficient twist. The bad version looks like this. So I've pulled this shoulder way more, almost a full quarter of the twist already before the back shoulder starts to move. So that's that off-axis twist. If you play it through at normal speed, I'll play both of those really fast just so you can see. It's very subtle, and that's the danger in not doing this progression, because it's very subtle and it won't catch up to you until you're at the higher twists. So that's both shoulders. This is more of one shoulder. So you can see it drifts just a little bit. But again, that's because I'm exaggerating it. If I wasn't exaggerating it, it would look very similar. So the key here in these early progressive steps, make sure those hands are on your sides. It's gonna save you trouble in the long run. Here's what the Pike looks like. Again, both shoulders are working about the same amount to create this twist. And then I had the same trouble here where I literally could not force myself to pull that one arm more than the other in the Pike. Okay? So once we've built a solid half, we're gonna start to progress the full. I would recommend getting a solid front full and preferably a decent full and a half before you start back twisting. And again, I'll get into why that is when we start the back twisting side of this video. But this is how you progress from the half to the full. So you're gonna have them jump. That's imagining they finish their front half. Then we're gonna add the back half. And we do this solely with their back shoulder. So that front shoulder is gonna stay put. I'll draw that with a red circle. So that front arm and that shoulder and my head are going to stay exactly where they are. The only thing I'm doing here is moving my back shoulder. So you'll see it. This one arm turns my body. That's it. Again, that one arm turns my body, and I'm gonna jump with it. That's my turn. So you'll notice that a lot of athletes, as they get into connection passes, they really wanna start to spot the floor, open up so they have time to make it consistent. This is how you build that in from the beginning. It's very hard to break that habit once they've done a couple years of twisting. But if you teach them how to open out of their halves from the jump, it's just natural and normal. So we want them finishing in this position here. This is the other view of it, so you can see the front side. My right arm stays exactly where it is. That back shoulder is gonna drift, and you'll notice as this shoulder pulls back, naturally the other shoulder wants to move in. And that's exactly what we're looking for, just like that. Boom. Okay? So we'll put it together. You're gonna go front tuck open half. I'm gonna go for the stick again, and then add that jump half, just like that. And these stick and jump halves are very important. We wanna make sure that not only are we doing the correct twisting axis, but there's also a rotational axis that comes into play here, and those two things have to play together well. So make sure that you don't skip through these stick half, bounce half before they actually put it together. Same thing with the Pike. Pike open, boom, add the half, just like that, and then put it together. It's gonna look kind of wonky. I did one here just so you can kind of see. Just prepare for it. If the first couple aren't gonna be the best, they should be safe if you've done every step, but you might wanna run into the pit a couple times. But it looks like this, the same exact pike open, but now we're gonna add that extra back half right here. So you can see this arm's gonna stop moving, this arm's gonna keep going. Boom, that's the full. And I guarantee you their first couple will look exactly like that. But the more you run it, the more comfortable they get with it. They learn to piece those shoulders together a little better, and it'll look like this. I'll play that through normal speed. Just like that. Again, notice that both of my shoulders are working at the same time. A lot of times you get these fulls that look like a half-half instead of like a nice smooth twist. We want to make sure that it's a nice smooth twist. So that's where this comes in. Both shoulders working together. You can see that clear half that we built before. And then you can see my shoulders continue working together through the second half. And this is exactly that big open where you can see the floor that we'll want later on in their careers when they're doing full and a half punch layouts and other connection passes. So again, we're building that in from the jump so we don't have to try and backtrack to develop it later. Okay, so now we've developed front half, or we've developed a front tuck, front half, and a front full. We've got that down. We can start looking at back twisting. Again, I prefer this order because layouts are difficult to do correctly. So in the meantime, you can progress their tuck half, tuck full even, and pike half, pike full. So by the time that the layout's ready to add a twist to it, they've already got this twisting axis down pat. It's just a habit. So the first thing I like to do is a nice arch layout. I like the arch layout because it makes their rotational axis correct. As long as they try to land somewhat in the same spot, you don't have to worry that they're gonna throw off their layout when they add the twist. So we start out with that. And then we're gonna do the same exact process we did with the front. So we're gonna go layout to a position, and then we're gonna add the second half of our front full. So we're gonna add that back shoulder dropping back, just like we did for our front full. So now you can see why I would recommend the front twisting first. It's easier for them to understand. There's less fear involved, and once those habits are built, it's just a plug and chug on the backside. So again, layout, you see it, drop that one arm back, that's the back half. And then of course, when they put it together, it should look exactly the same as our full did. Here it is, they see it, that one arm stays there, the back shoulder drops back, and there's our half. And that's also, remember, the same kind of open and look back that we're gonna need for our connection passes later on in their career. The cool thing about this, once our front stuff is built, on the back side, all we're doing is repeating those same things. So here's that open we did for the full, and now we're gonna add the jump half turn that we did out of the kick out. So this is the end of the full. This is the front half that we built. So again, dropping this arm, make sure our shoulders are rotating together, and then pulling to our sides, make sure, again, our shoulders are rotating together. One more time. Back half. Back half. Make that smoother, put it together, boom, you've got your full. So again, just a quick summary. The purpose of this video is to make sure that you're kind of setting yourself up for long-term twisting. You can get a front half, front full, back half, back full, most of these basic skills without doing these things, but you end up backtracking and having to add a bunch of drills later on in their career. The downside of that is at that point, you're fighting years of habits, and the athlete has to be really invested to make those kind of changes. Versus this, you start out on the right track, and by the time they get there, none of those problems exist.